Thank you for coming to this event of the Lynn Douglas 200 Bicentennial Committee Celebration Series. My name is Wendy Joseph, and other than wearing a silly hat, I am the co-chair of the committee along with Julia Green. What we are doing here today is honoring and remembering the people of Lynn's reactions and response to the passing of the 1850 Fugitive Slave Law. Lynn had just been incorporated into a city in 1850, but it already had a significant history of abolitionist work under its belt by the time this beefed-up Fugitive Slave Law was passed. You know, this law replaced a previous Fugitive Slave Law that had been in place since 1793, but this wasn't good enough for the slave owners of the South anymore. And remember, Lynn was not a provincial little town. The old Boston Post Road passed through Lynn on its way up north, all of 10 miles out of Boston. We read the Boston papers, and the Boston papers wrote about us. What we will be reading is taken from original sources of the day, mainly talking about newspapers and telegraph, fair people, and arranged as a theoretical rally that might have taken place right here in Old City Hall Square. I want to recognize all the social justice warriors whose work every day reaffirms Lynn's noble history in working to reject injustice. Frederick Douglass would surely recognize what you are doing as a legacy of his lifetime's work. City Council President Darren Sears is going to make a few remarks, and then I will be beginning the reading and passing it on to our mayor.
Thank you, Wendy. A few months ago, I had the privilege of meeting a reenactor of Frederick Douglass, a gentleman who travels around the country. And if you saw him, you would swear you're talking to Frederick Douglass. I mean, he's just so unbelievable. And when he came here to Lynn, he's also going to be coming here to Lynn this coming weekend. But when he came here the last time, and I listened to him speak in front of about 40 or 50 people, and he spoke at the Grand Army of the Republic building, and he talked about the importance of that building and what people sacrifice, both white, black, people from all over the world, to protect the rights of every man, woman, and child in this country. And he explained that a lot of people gave their lives back in the 1800s so that the people today could have the rights that we have. America has its issues like everybody else does, and everybody doesn't agree with what's going on all the time. But it's still the greatest place in the world to live here in America. And it's because of people like Frederick Douglass, who put it all out there. He put everything he had out there and sacrificed everything so that everybody today could have what we have. And he was just an amazing person, and listening to him speak and meeting him, I really felt like I was actually speaking with Frederick Douglass. And I hope you all have the same opportunity this weekend to meet him. He's going to be here on Saturday at between 3 and 5 at the Grand Army of the Republic building, and he's going to be going around with Wendy to a few other things. She'll tell you a little bit more about that. But if you really want to meet an amazing person, this is the guy to meet. So, thank you.
Okay, and because there's probably less people here than there would have been with the rain and tornado warnings and people being a little afraid, we're probably going to be calling on you more than once. And I think you can do that. It is my pleasure to pass the talking hat to His Honor Mayor Tom McGee to start the reading. You're not wearing the
I would have wanted Tom if she gave it to me.
Come on, put it on right now. You ready? There has been no excitement in the Free States for a long time, like that which has grown out of the passage of the Fugitive Slave Bill. The West has been aroused. The Empire State has been shaken, and the Old Bay State trembles with indignation. And our own city resolutions have been passed, expressive of utter abhorrence of the law, and vows of aid to the fugitives have been made before high heaven. My friends, there is a power greater than the men who made the law. There is a power greater even than the godlike. It is the power of the people. And the voice of God, as it speaks through the people, keep it before the people. Let the people speak then, as they are speaking, against this odious act of their public servants, and adopt all legal means for its repeal, and it will not long remain on the statute book.
We have no idea if any attempt will be made to take away any of the citizens of Lynn, or those who have not become citizens. There are persons here who have escaped from service long ago. They are Massachusetts citizens and are entitled to the aid of the Commonwealth and the protection of their rights. We believe the right to be unconstitutional in most of its important provisions. Those are in destroying the habeas corpus, in denying the trial by jury, in being ex post facto or retroactive in its character, and in levying taxes on the whole people for private purposes. The law in question is a violation of states' rights, for which the South have so zealously contended. We hold them to that doctrine, and we call upon the government of Massachusetts to see that not a hair on the head of one of her citizens is harmed.
It is well known and admitted, historically and judicially, that these provisions are made for the purpose of the slave states. The complete ownership in their slaves as property in any and every state or territory of the Union where they may escape to find their freedom. For these reasons, it shall have our opposition, acting within the limits of the law to the full extent of our ability. There are members of the community, both North and South, who believe slavery a question to be settled by the states themselves. Any attempt to involve the general government is unconstitutional. Georgia repels the idea that Congress has any right to pass a law abolishing slavery within her limits, but demands that Massachusetts shall submit to a law establishing slave usages upon her soil, converting government officials into slave catchers, and making the general treasury responsible for slave property. Nay, more, she demands that we shall suffer the aggression in silence, or she will dissolve the Union.
The people of Lynn declared not a month ago, resolved that Lewis Cass and Daniel Webster, Senator Foote and Senator Clay, and each and every one of the Compromise Committee of 13 who reported and urged the passing of this bill, as well as everyone who voted for its passage, are unworthy of the votes of the free people of Lynn for any office for which they may hereafter be named. Our Baptist churches stand together as they pass a resolution repudiating the Fugitive Slave Law as contrary to the Declaration of Independence and opposed to the direct grants of the Constitution to every citizen and to the law of God. They pledge themselves not voluntarily to aid in giving
recall the infamous case of George Latimer, one of the first escaped slaves to receive our attention, who made Lynn his home in our fair city for 45 years. Esteemed Robin names such as Bowditch, Channing, and Cabot funded the Latimer Journal 8 years ago in 1842.
That the irritable inflamed the passion and exasperated those whose sympathies ran beyond their judgment. Critics claimed that the Latimer Journal greatly excited and alarmed the credulous, vexed the irritable, inflamed the passion, and exasperated those whose sympathies ran beyond judgment. Recall then, my fellow citizens, the tumultuous meeting which took place in Faneuil Hall to provide additional safeguards for the protection of those claimed as fugitives from other states or as slaves.
An immediate response in Boston wrote the freedom-loving citizens of this Commonwealth came in the form of voluntary associations that aim to protect black fugitives from these legal kidnappings. The constitutionality of the Fugitive Slave Law is but now finally being questioned by some of the ablest of our northern Democratic papers, which have never before sympathized with the abolitionists. As for examples, the Worcester Palladium and the Hartford Times, who warned, it certainly would have been far better to have left Lynn alone than pass a law that was so difficult to enforce. The effect will be to bring law generally into contempt.
At a meeting in Fall River to hear Mr. Warren Fowler of the United States House of Representatives, resolutions were offered denouncing the law as unconstitutional, denouncing all who voted for it in Washington, and the duty incumbent of all in Massachusetts to oppose its execution. The Honorable Mr. Fowler avowed, if opportunity offered, his determination to set at defiance the provisions of the Act so far as to aid in secreting any fugitive slave who might be in danger of capture. He was backed up by other speakers, including, of note, Reverend Asa Bronson, who declared that if he got between a fugitive slave and the constituted authorities, these latter would have to go over him or through him to reach the object of their search.
But the cream of this whole matter at this meeting consisted in the inferential charge made by Mr. Fowler that more than 40 members of the House of Representatives were actually purchased over to vote for the Fugitive Slave Bill. Now we read that the Federal Supreme Court, Justice McClain of Ohio writes, in regard to the arrest of the fugitives from labor, the law does not impose active duties on our citizens generally. They are not prohibited from exercising the ordinary charities of life towards the fugitive, but to secrete him or to convey him from the reach of his master is forbidden.
In Minneapolis, Maryland, a number of resolutions were set down to heal the public. Pardon me, folks. The Daily Advisor published a reputation of Charles G. Lauren, Esquire, who states that he was never a member of any Fugitive Slave Law committee. but consents to act without recovering compensation as counsel in the defense of a person so aggressive, intimidating, at the same time that although he considered some of the provisions of the law highly objectionable, he inclined to the belief that it was not unconstitutional and that in the event of any favorable forcible resistance to the officers of the law, he must be expected to take the side of a better life.
And in Annapolis, Maryland, a number of resolutions were set down to heed the public agitation and perpetuate, declaring that the Fugitive Slave Law cannot be repealed or disregarded and resisted by the North without adding to the dissolution of the Union. A correspondent from Macon, Georgia, seems anxious to make acquainted with the sentiments of the whole South relative to the Fugitive Slave Law and the existence of the Union. According to his views, the fate of one involves the fate of the other. He states that the Fugitive Slave Law is the true expression of the South. It is the true interpretation of the Constitution. The existence of slavery is the true basis of the Union. So your people of the North may graciously consent to allow the law to exist as it is, and mind your business or you will have trouble.
Southern papers scoffed. The garrison, disunion abolitionists, the free soil abolitionists, the Seward Whigs, all set up a shout of horror at the Fugitive Slave Law. This is now echoing all through the various channels in which are resorted to in order to hold public opinion, inflaming the public mind, and demanding that one of the main supports of Northern political platform shall be a repeal of this law.
And yet the South trembles for the consequences of what they have wrought. They continue, and worse still, the doctrine of open resistance to this law is publicly and privately defended. The ignorant fugitive is exhorted to arm himself to the teeth to defend his natural rights, and thus to raise single-handedly the banner of rebellion where all is peace, prosperity, and happiness. I repeat, the South and its slaveholders contend that at the plantation, all is peace, prosperity, and happiness. Would our friend Frederick Douglass, who made his home in our fair city, less than 10 years gone by, agree with this conclusion by the South, of the South? The article ends with a warning for the North. If one person can arm and resist, two can, and 200 can. Let a body of men take the stand, and what would be the certain result? Civil war at an hour's notice. Such resistance must be quelled by any means.
Representative Horace Mann from the 8th District of Massachusetts said in a session of the whole, "I enter a solemn protest against the grievous wrong, and of placing it upon the records of the country what I believe to be the views of the vast majority of the people of Massachusetts. Some of these compromise measures are destined to be of great historic importance. They will be drawn into precedent when, in evil days, further meditated against human rights, these old measures, which are broad enough to cover almost any assault upon human liberty, will be cited as sanctions for new aggressions.
When bad men want authority for bad deeds, they will only have to go back to the legislation of 1850 to find an armory full of the weapons of injustice. Discussion in Congress has been denounced as agitation, and that such agitation must be put down. In Italy, the Pope decides what books may be read, and in Austria, the Emperor decides what books may be written. But we are more degraded than the subjects of the Pontiff or Caesar if we are to hold what topics we may discuss in the halls of Congress. I think that those who say so much about recalling us to a sense of our constitutional obligations under the threat of disunion would do well to remember that the very first article of the amendments to the Constitution secures the freedom of speech. On the very face of it, it must be a bad cause which will not bear discussion. Sir, is the right of agitation to be monopolized by those who denounce it? The southern states are allowed when it calls upon us to execute the Fugitive Slave Law. But what examples have they set on the subject of obedience to the law? In 1831, the legislature of Georgia offered a bribe of $5,000 to anyone who would arrest and bring to trial and conviction in Georgia a citizen of Massachusetts named William Lloyd Garrison. This law was approved by the governor, but since Mr. Garrison never set foot within the limits of Georgia, the law was instead a reward for his abduction and murder. No less than $50,000 was offered up for the deliverance of Arthur Tappan, a well-known abolitionist in New York. They have rifled through the United States to burn pamphlets of union meetings, safety and vigilance committees, and held northern shipmen in southern jails without trial. It is these classes who are now so suddenly smitten with a new sense of the sacredness of the law and of the duty of obedience to the law, most of the laws of God, not even the laws of man in general, but of this most abominable of all enactments, the Fugitive Slave Law in particular.
It is a law which disgraces our country in the eyes of the whole civilized world and gives plausible occasion to the fanatics of this despotic power to decry Republican institutions. And now, sir, as I am called upon to support such a law as this, or else to desist from opposing it in all constitutional ways, my response is, repeal the law, that I might no longer be called to support it. In the name of my constituents, in the name of my predecessor, John Quincy Adams, in whose place I am fortunate to stand, I demand it repealed. I demand it. Thank you so much for joining us here today. There are 2 more events just this week in the celebration series. This Friday at LCTV Studios, 181 Union Street, the acclaimed ensemble, the Poets Theatre of Cambridge, will perform 2 free shows of a piece called Boston Abolitionists. The shows are this Friday at 3 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. and will be taped before a live studio audience. Did I mention free? And this Saturday, the Friends of the Grand Army of the Republic and the community are hosting a street fair on Andrew Street from 3 to 5 p.m. There will be Civil War era band, Michael Fletcher, who is the preeminent Frederick Douglass reenactor in the country. So again, this Friday, free theater at the LCTV studios, and this Saturday, come get the full Grand Army Republic experience and some selfies with Frederick Douglass. And I have some pamphlets of these two other series if you would like them. Thank you so much. It is a small and very important